This video is meant for beginners. For that matter, I have to make two assumptions. The first assumption is OpenBSD would be the sole operating system. That means we are going to wipe out the entire hard drive, delete all the partitions, which as a result of it, all the files would be removed. So do not try to use this tutorial as a guideline to install OpenBSD on your main rig. Otherwise, you risk losing all your data. Do it on the spare hardware or on VirtualBox only. The second assumption is you have an active internet connection via Ethernet ports. Unfortunately, for this tutorial, I cannot showcase you how to connect to Wi-Fi when installing OpenBSD. So let's move on. To enter to the installation mode, we need just to press I. So then it will be the interactive installation, which all we have to do is to answer just a bunch of questions and done with the installation process. So for the keyboard layout, the default layout is US layout. If you have other preference, you can just type question and get the list of the layouts. I stick with the US layout. Now hostname, you can pass anything you wish, doesn't matter really. For the network configurations, you can skip the VLAN 0 because that is loopback. You just need to configure at most one interface when installing OpenBSD. And that is necessary only if you are going to pull the BSD packages from the internet. Otherwise, you can skip this stage. So, of course, DHCP to get the IP address from the router. It will be the same case for the home user if you are installing it on a spare hardware. So now it takes the IP, in this case from a emulator router. As you can see, the IP address is 10.02.15, and v6 usually is not applicable for the home users. If you have, you can just type autoconf and proceed with the configurations. Otherwise, like my case, just press enter. Now we are done with the network configurations. Press enter. We have to pass the domain name. This is the local domain name. Doesn't matter for the home installation again. I just type enter again, and now let's set the root password. When it comes to activating SSH daemon, you have to ask this question from yourself, whether you want to connect to your OpenBSD via SSH or you have any use for SSH in general. If you don't, you can set it as off, because keeping it on means additional responsibilities. In my case, I set it as off because I don't use SSH often, and when I use it, I prefer to start the daemon on demand. When it comes to the X window installation, if you are not familiar with OpenBSD, I recommend you to install X window. Don't expect something fancy like GNOME or KDE or something like that. This is the bare minimum. X window is very old-fashioned with limited functionalities, but it is better than nothing. We are going to install X window, and now for the display manager. Display manager is the program that you can type your username password in GUI and then log into your, let's say, X window, right? If you want to use terminal for entering your username password or logging in, you can just set this one to no. Otherwise, I think it's good to have it. So I recommend again to install it for beginners. Set up the user. This is definitely a must-have, although you can skip it, but I recommend, and also I urge you not to skip. So pass your username, whatever you wish, set the password, and then now it comes to setting the time zone. You can press question mark, get the time zone that you wish. In my case, I stick with UTC, enter, moving forward to the disk partitioning. This one is a bit tricky one, but since we are going to stick with the default installation, it will be super easy and fast. But I do emphasize on some of the things on why OpenBSD does it in a certain way. As I have mentioned earlier, we are going to wipe out the entire hard drive, so press W. In this video, I'm not going to teach or go through any custom partitioning, because that is a different beast to tackle, and that is suitable for intermediate or advanced users. Press W here, it wipes out the entire hard drive, and this is the layout or partitioning layout that is provided or suggested by OpenBSD. Of course, as you can see, we have E option to modify the layout, but we are going to stick with the default layout. However, as you can see, the layout it's different quite a bit compared with what you see on Linux, because the default or the recommended approach on Linux is to lump all the directories to a single root partition. OpenBSD does it exactly the opposite. As you can see, we have root partition, TMP, user, etc, etc. So almost for each directory, we have a single partition. Why OpenBSD does it this way? It's quite interesting. They do it once because of the security. So if you corrupted, let's say, a part of your part of the system or part of the one directory, then it won't affect another part. That means you can, for instance, mount those partitions or directories, to be more specific, that you don't write to them as read-only partition. Let's take user directory or partition as an example here. So my user doesn't have to do anything, any write operations on the user partition. So I can mount this one as a read-only partition, and let's say if tomorrow accidentally I ran a ransomware that encrypts my entire hard drive, this user partition would be safeguarded because it's mounted as read-only. That is one reason. The second reason is related to poorly written programs. Let's say you have a program that it takes a lot of space on your home directory or on the home folder. If you have a separate home partition, at worst that program can affect and fill up your home partition with chunks, but it won't affect the other functionalities of your system. Whereas if you lump everything together and that bad program fill up the entire partition space, then the system would be almost unusable. Having said that, although this suggested layout makes a lot of sense, both from security perspective and also from server maintenance perspective, it doesn't quite applicable to normal users. It sounds a bit overkill. What I do like is to put everything in a single partition. It makes it easy, and I don't need to be worried about whether I'm running out of space, let's say, on my user partition or no. But for the server configurations, definitely I recommend going with this schema. Nevertheless, since we are going to stick with the default partitioning schema to keep things easy, I'm going just to accept it. But before that, I just wanted to tell you that why OpenBSD does it in that way. Moving forward, now we have to specify where we want to download the packages from. We have option of CD, disk, HTTP, NFS. So disk and NFS are out of question here. NFS is difficult to configure, and also it means that you have a network file system. Disk is not applicable in our case since we have wiped out the entire hard drive. So now we left with two options, CD or HTTP. If you have internet connection, just go with the HTTP, otherwise you can choose CD. If you want to install the packages from CD or any image, you need to download the FAT image, which the size of it is couple hundred megabytes. So I don't have any proxy. If you have proxy, you can set it here, obviously. So for the HTTP server or mirror, you can type question mark, get the list of it, go with the one that geographically is closer to you, so you can actually utilize your bandwidth. And for a server directory, this is the server path that you can specify. It has detected everything correctly. I just need to press enter. Now I have to specify which packages I want to install. I recommend to go with the full installation. It doesn't take much of a space, and then it saves a lot of headache in the future, because then you don't need to install some of the packages that you may need in the future one by one. Just type done or press enter. Now it pulled the SHA-256 signature and is going to download and verify the packages. Keep in mind that not all the mirrors give you the signature, so OpenBSD installer may give you a warning that whether you want to switch the mirror, since it cannot verify the signature of the packages, or moving forward without verifying the packages. I recommend, if you run into such an issue, to just switch to a different mirror. This is better from security perspective. You may remember that a few years ago, somebody went to the Linux Mint server and hampered with the default ISO. So it's good to check and verify whatever that you are installing on your system. I'm going to pause the video now and continue after this step. The installation process has finished. I have answered 2 questions. One was about whether I'm finished with installing the packages. I just pressed enter, and then it was setting the system clock. One thing to note is relinking to create unique kernel will take a while, so don't think that the installer has been frozen. It's not, it just takes some time. So I'm going to reboot the system, and then we are going to boot to the OpenBSD for the first time. The first boot usually will take a while because OpenBSD needs to do some initial configuration, but any subsequent boots would be much faster. Again, don't think that the system hangs, it just takes some time. Here we are on the login page. This is the XenoDM login display manager. I need to enter my user pass here. The thing is, I'm not sure whether it's a bug or it's a glitch on my system. For the first time logging, I have to enter my user pass twice, so I will show you. So now I press enter, and then it will ask me again to provide my user pass. So this is the X window, is called, I think, FVWM. Is pretty basic. As you can see, it doesn't have anything fancy. Yeah, it's better than nothing, but it also is nothing fancy. So don't be disappointed by this, by the way. In the upcoming videos, I'm going to showcase you more stuff on how to install let's say a proper window manager or even a desktop environments via OpenBSD port. For now, we are going to get the disk space, so we see how much the full installation has used. So as you can see, the only major thing is a user directory of 1.1 gigabyte, and then there is a X11R6. So in total, the full OpenBSD installation took around like 1.4 gigabytes, which is nothing compared to any modern operating system. I'm going to also install HTOP to show you the system resource utilization. It will take a while. Again, I pause here. Okay, when it comes to the system resource utilizations, as you can see, I have given a single core CPU to it and only 41 tasks are running. The only thing that stands a bit odd is the memory usage, but nothing major, 450, but I expected, to be honest, to have lesser memory usage given the fact that we are running the very bare minimum stuff here, no fancy UI, etc. That's all for this video. Make sure to press the like button and subscribe to the channel. In the upcoming videos, I'm going to teach you how to do custom partitioning when installing OpenBSD and install OpenBSD alongside with Linux to make it dual boot, as well as doing some package installation, etc. to make OpenBSD more usable for normal users. Stay tuned and have a great time. Cheers.